Grant Cardone decided to shut down the agency yesterday without any previous notice. Holy smokes, y'all, you better max out your health because apparently we's going into a rough time. And in case that weren't already apparent, let me share with you some things that are going to make it extremely apparent and then hopefully share some lessons with you because I'm getting nervous, so much so that I got myself a short bow I've been practicing with just to be able to defend myself in case I need to. Even got these little arrows to go with it. So, let's get into it. Dr. Phil is apparently selling his house and his weird gun collection as well as his bizarre pool table room. This is having people on Twitter ask if Dr. Phil's house needs an exorcism. Mitt Romney is dumping his place that he bought in Deer Valley, Utah, the prestigious ski resort area. And hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio, who correctly, in an insane twist of elements, bought an insurance policy that the market would crash in March of 2020, back in November of 2019, somehow still lost 20% of his hedge fund's value because he wasn't able to properly predict this black swan, which who could blame him? But had he held on to the $1.5 billion bet he made in November, he would be the king of the hill today. And if that weren't bad enough, real estate mogul Ben Mala is lamenting that his hotels are having occupancy difficulties, and we can only imagine what's happening to his retail holdings right now. But then we get to the icing on the cake of all of this, and after the icing on our cake, I'm gonna share with you some lessons and some things that I'm doing differently that are coming out of all of this craziness that's going on. So this morning started out like any typical morning. I was sitting here trying to figure out what it is that death runes do again. I kind of forgot what it was they do, but then I was thinking about getting some vengeance, and I looked in my email and my Instagram, and my text messages were all getting blown up with some insane news happening over at the offices of Mr. 10X, Grant Cardone. Let's get right into this because this is mind-blowing. But first, apparently I need to read this disclosure just to make sure the shirt remains as powerful as possible. The disclosure is, the following information is being released for the public good in an act of investigative journalism that should be protected under California shield laws. Also, absolutely everything in this video that you hear could be complete opinion or wrong, so don't consider any of this fact unless you verify it yourself. I'm sure that'll work. All right, let's keep moving on. I have now received multiple reports from multiple different sources that on March 19th, Grant Cardone did a massive unannounced layoff of team members from all divisions within his office, even closing down an entire division. It looks like 80 out of roughly 180 employees got the cut, the boot, so to speak, without any prior notice. Apparently there was a team meeting on Thursday, the 19th, and 80 people were just fired. And on their way out, as if things couldn't be bad enough, certain people ended up getting letters from the Grant Cardone attorney. I just want you to think about this because this just irks me when I hear something like this. I mean, look, I feel bad for Grant Cardone, but look, on one hand, if you're driving around with a flashy lifestyle and jet setting around, I think you probably ought to take care of your employees rather than firing them without notice and then sending legal threats after them. Like, yikes, yikes, yikes. You know, there's a company here that's actually headquartered in Ventura, California called Patagonia, and they don't show off flashy riches or anything, but they offered all of their employees pay without work. While the stores are closed, the employees are continuing to get paid just so they can survive through all this madness. So in utter contrast, like I understand if you're like a car dealer or you're in the restaurant and you can't pay your employees because you're not making any money, but here you have Grant Cardone who shows off this super high, profitable, flashy lifestyle, tells everybody he's a billionaire. He doesn't necessarily take off all of the money that his investors put in or all the money he owes to the banks to come up with his billion-dollar figure, but shows off this essentially billionaire lifestyle, yet fires people and sends them out the door with legal threats. I feel bad for Grant, But right now, from this POV, I feel more bad for his employees. I have to say, these kind of pressures make you wonder, is Cardone Capital and Grant Cardone getting crushed under a mountain of debt? Which is kind of like what Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, suggested might happen. Now, I've been absolutely inundated with emails and screenshots and documentation, but to protect as many people's identities as possible, I'm not gonna read this off word for word, but let me just tell you this. I'm looking at an email right now. It introduces, hi, so-and-so. The very first bit of information basically says, hey, broskies, if you're pissed off, which you probably are because we're not gonna pay you even though you're owed money or you think you're owed money, make sure if you've already hired an attorney that you have your attorney email us because we don't want to talk to you. So just stop reading now and have your attorney talk to us. And I'm reading this and I'm like, oh my gosh, your farewell email to your employees is have your attorney get in touch? Now, apparently in response to this, there are multiple employees actually thinking about lawyering up, but here's Grant Cardone on YouTube a day later, Friday, on his public live stream going, hey, well, courts are closed, people can't sue right now anyway, and kind of like, sucks for them, which is almost kind of like what I feel like in a twisted way is a conversation he probably had with his staff attorney right before, which is totally speculation, but it's just weird. Let me play the clip for you. And when you put these two things together, it's like, oh my gosh.
Wouldn't they be able to like sue me for the balance or hold my
Ain't nobody
deposit?
suing you right
Like,
now, bro.
you know
And
what I mean? Like,
nobody's suing anybody right now. Like,
The email then goes on to explain why the company is not going to pay these employees, whether they're owed money or not, which when I first read this, I thought, this is probably just another he said, she said, and it's a dispute. And look, there are always disputes. I don't know. Like if I'm an employer and I let somebody go and there's a dispute, I'd rather overpay them just so we could leave everything on a positive note. And there aren't people out there making videos talking about how odd it is that something like this is going on. See, because in that email, they clearly say, you know what, we're not paying you, don't expect any checks from us, and hey, if you need to touch base again in the future, whatever, so be it, but we ain't paying you. So here we go, not only are you fired, but now don't expect any last checks or income that maybe you were expecting as an employee. Sorry, you ain't getting it. Which to me, if you're an employer, it's your job as the employer to clearly communicate the policies to the employees. Because if you've got multiple employees that are now getting fired that are expecting money, you're gonna have a lot of pissed off people. And look, I'm not trying to bag on Grant Cardone here. Maybe this is just a sign that times are really, really difficult right now all of a sudden. I mean, I think a lot of people got blindsided, so I get it. This isn't necessarily the way I would go about business. I've made videos obviously before about working with his attorney that you could see the link below for a video that I did breaking down one of her depositions. But take a look at this. I mean, here's a post that was on Facebook. Any agencies hiring right now? I was a team lead media buyer at Cardone Advertising up until yesterday. Grant Cardone decided to shut down the agency yesterday without any previous notice. I'm looking for a job. Thank you. And somebody shared that post and said, employees have been heard walking around saying, who's got my money? Whew. I mean, that's a good one, okay? I gotta give it to this guy, Ben. Ben, you and everybody else deserve 2 free stocks with Webull if you deposit $100 and use that link down below. They did extend that promotion through the end of the month. And of course, you deserve to join me in my own programs linked below. The price does go up on Monday. But we ain't done yet. If we now look up Grant Cardone on Twitter, we could see this tweet where Grant Cardone is looking for tenants for pretty much all of Cardone Capital's investments. And the tweet kind of makes it seem like he's giving these units away to people who need shelter, like there was just a hurricane. And he's like, hey guys, if you need temporary housing, come here, we'll help you out. Like we got rooms, we can help you, which sounds really cool and noble. But then when you click on the link, you see mentioned that, well, unfortunately, because of the Fair Housing Act, we can't give these rooms away for free, but do feel free to fill out the form and we'll let you know what we've got for you. Which, first of all, I'm not expecting him to give these rooms away for free, but his tweet kind of implies he's doing this as a community service. And second of all, the Fair Housing Act, in my opinion, says nothing about you can't rent out an apartment for free. I've never heard of that. The Fair Housing Act says you're not allowed to discriminate against people unfairly because of their sex or their race or religion, but there's nothing that says you can't create a zero value contract with somebody. Again, not saying he should give away apartments for free, and who knows, maybe there is something that says, well, I mean, you're charging those tenants, why are they living for free? Well, I don't know, maybe because I like them, or I'm trying to help them out, or I'm doing it. Who cares? Like, that doesn't matter. The point is, the tweet is not congruent with what the actual sort of fine print says, which we kind of see this over and over again. Which, by the way, in case some of this is making you nervous and you're thinking about taking your money out of Cardone Capital, here's just one paragraph from Cardone Capital's operating agreement, and it's called no withdrawal of funds, which maybe there are other terms in the agreement that say for some reason or with some extenuating circumstances you can get your money out of the fund, but I have a feeling it's going to be very difficult to get your money out of Cardone Capital right now, and if too many people try to get their money out of Cardone Capital, some people are going to end up getting stuck with these properties when they end up having to sell if this continues. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's gonna happen. I don't know. My goal is that some kind of vaccine comes out tomorrow, all of this is cured, we go back to normal. I do not wish bad upon Grant Cardone, certainly not his employees, certainly not his tenants. I'm just saying, this reiterates to me exactly why I'm nervous about paying market value for real estate. And no, I'm not trying to turn this into a pitch for this is why you should buy my course so you can learn how to buy wedge deals below market value or learn how to do property management yourself or manage your own money or whatever. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to turn it into that. But this is exactly what happens when you sign up for interest-only debt, you pay market value or you overpay to get into deals, and you don't have any kind of control when you give your money to a fund. When a fund has your money, you're screwed. At least if I have a house and I need to liquidate it and sell it to take the equity to pay my bills, so I don't go bankrupt, I can do that. If I have 100 grand in stocks and they go down 50% in value, at least I still have 50% I can sell and use to pay some bills in an emergency fund, right? In theory, your investments are an emergency fund. But if you can't take your money out of your investments at all, you ain't got nothing. You can't get a loan against it, you can't withdraw it. I mean, that's bad. I'll tell you one thing that this is making me think is, I don't think I ever, and like this Kevin, future Kevin, watch this video. Don't create a syndication unless you figured out a way to solve all these problems. Because I think what's happening is a lot of vacancies are happening right now. The property management companies are calling up Cardone Capital, hey boss, we can't get these units filled, we're having trouble, can you use your social media leverage and get us some more applicants because we can't find anybody to rent these units? And all of a sudden you're starting to look and go, crap, I've been promising everybody 6 or 4 or 5% dividends depending on which fund you're in. It's a different dividend, it's so confusing, I can't track it all, I don't really care to either. But the point is, it's like, how are you gonna pay your loan and give all these dividends, and now you can't fill the units? That's bad. And see, that's the other problem with syndications as well, is they prefer to get what are called high pop tenants over high quality tenants. And I mean, I don't blame them, but this is how that works. Let's say you have a rental unit that has a market rent of $1,800. A syndication would rather try to rent the unit for $1,850 because it makes all of the buildings worth more and it makes the fund look more successful. And they would rather rent the units to lower quality tenants who are willing to pay more money than doing what I like to do, which is if the market rent is $1,800, I don't mind taking $1,780, pricing it slightly below market value just to make sure I get a higher quality tenant. And when I say quality tenant, like I don't want y'all to think that like I'm discriminating tenants here or whatever. Like I do not discriminate, but I do look for more stable jobs, more stable credit scores, more stable rental history, right? These are the choices I have when I slightly underprice. You don't get that luxury when you're trying to fill units at a premium. Scrolling down the rest of the Twitter feed, you'll find that Grant Cardone, who used to always say, 10x everything, 10x your spend, 10x your employee hiring, 10x your business, 10x your dreams, 10x your goals, 10x everything. A dollar spent is not a dollar spent, it's a dollar invested. You wanna grow, you spend money on your business. You get more ads because they pay you. You get more employees because they pay you. Well, now Grant Cardone has revised that to 10x everything except spending. Maybe that's because he's starting to look awfully nervous. But wait, that's not all. Cardone's advertising division, which used to be a partnership between Grant Cardone and Frank Kern, has shuttered its doors. All employees who worked for the advertising division are fired, which no, there were not 80 employees working for the advertising division. People working, apparently from what I hear, working for Cardone Capital, Cardone Ventures, Cardone U, and I think like the marketing team or something else. All branches have literally lost employees. Everything is getting scaled back. This at the same time as during a live stream, Grant Cardone is telling a caller that now is the time to be an example. Let me play this and then let's get into some lessons and takeaways here.
Show people what they should be doing. Look, handouts are not what people need right now. They need examples because the government's going to give some handouts. We about to go through the biggest handout, dish out, like, I'm telling you, it's going to be trillions. It ain't going to be like what they're talking about, $1.5 trillion. It's going to be $3 or $4 or $5 trillion. What people are going to need, though, is examples. And the government cannot give a good example. People need Clinton, you to be courageous. I need to see what you're doing every day.
I don't know, I'm nervous. I think Grant Cardone's gonna show up at my door, but I got Thor's hammer here ready for him. This thing weighs 10 tons, okay? Let's hit some lessons here. Number one, I always hated when my father-in-law said this, and he's gonna watch this video and he's gonna I told you, Kevin, I told you. I told you. And you know what? Fine, you're right. You're right. My father-in-law always said, Kevin, you have two choices. You could have the big ship or the little ship. Which one do you want? You can't be in the middle because nobody wants to be in the ocean, essentially. So you either get a big ship or you get a little ship. And here's what that means. A little ship is like driving a speedboat around. You can maneuver really fast. If the market crashes and you need to lower your expenses, you could do this and kill the engine and you could just coast and ride it out for a little bit. You can move really quickly. Maybe you've got like your family helping you out. Maybe you've got like one employee holding the sail. Like you're good. You can batten down the hatches, survive. You got all the support you need. You're good. The big ship is like the Costa Concordia, when you've got hundreds of employees and all of a sudden you realize, oh gosh, we're gonna crash, and you go to turn the cruise ship and it's like, it's a cruise ship. It don't turn that fast. For us to be able to slow this thing down, we're just gonna crash and sink and burn. And this is where I've actually had people in the construction industry reach out to me and say, Kevin, thank you for the videos that you make talking about 10xing and the danger of 10xing in business, because a lot of people, especially in construction, they 10x themselves into bankruptcy. It's much better to grow slowly and properly, so that way you can always batten down the hatches if you need to, and do also what my father-in-law always says, preserve the base, because you never know when the big storm is coming, but you want to be able to batten down the hatches really fast. You got a big cruise ship and you're like, oh, let's batten down the hatches. It's like, oh, we're too big, we're screwed. It's bad. Obviously, I think this is also a good opportunity to say, make sure that if you have debts in real estate, you do not over leverage. I recommend pretty strict guidelines in my investing course in terms of what your long-term equity goals should be. I generally frown upon refinancing. So fortunately, I'm in a position where as a family, we're a little speedboat, we're flexible, we're good. We're gonna ride this storm out along with everybody else. I'm gonna keep you updated on investment decisions I'm making, things I'm doing, things I'm not doing. That might mean I'm gonna post a little bit more often. I really hope that's not annoying. I hope you just choose to watch what's interesting to you, and hopefully all of it is interesting to you. So follow me on Instagram. Thanks so much for being here. Hope you learned something in this video, and until next time.